Hello everybody, welcome to the 2021 Microdokium Patch Field Day. My name is Clint Maddox, I'm a Research Associate Postdoc here at Oregon State University, and today I'm going to be talking about a long-term trial that we've been doing here at the Lewis Brown Horticultural Farm for 3 years now. Now, if you've gone to one of our Microdokium Patch Field Days in the past, you've seen us have to shovel snow before the field day began. We have had to bear with some full sun and some overcast. And if I'm correct, we've never had to deal with rain. But this year we have to deal with a virtual field day. So I hope you enjoy our videos, and hopefully they'll be something that you can re-watch and maybe even find that they're even perhaps more useful if you can kind of slow down and push pause, and if you have any questions, and you can read our slides and use them as a resource. So hopefully you'll find the virtual field day interesting, and today I'll be talking about a long-term trial. So if you were at our field day, this is what you would see. You would see a lot of Microdokium patch and a lot of treatments that are quite effective at suppressing this disease. It's quite dramatic to be out at the field day this time of year, and hopefully these pictures will give you some idea of what we're seeing. So in this particular talk, I'm going to be referring to a long-term trial. So in this long-term trial, we have chosen 10 treatments that we want to kind of use for multiple years to see what the long-term effects will be of applying these products in the same location over 3 years. And one product or one application that we're interested in seeing the effects of is the combination of sulfur and phosphorus acid being applied every 2 weeks from September until April for every year. And this is the third year of those treatments. The second treatment we're interested in looking at is applying mineral oil in combination with phosphorus acid when we know that annual bluegrass will be growing. In this particular treatment, we apply mineral oil in combination with phosphorus acid starting in September and going until the end of November. And then we apply sulfur and phosphorus acid every 2 weeks from December through March. And then we return to the mineral oil and phosphorus acid every 2 weeks in the month of April. The next treatment that has shown a lot of efficacy in the past is mineral oil and phosphorus acid applied. 2 weeks later, sulfur and phosphorus acid applied. And then we return the next 2 weeks with the mineral oil and phosphorus acid and just continue to do that rotation every 2 weeks throughout the September to April treatment season. The next treatment we have showcased in this trial is mineral oil applied alone and then sulfur and phosphorus acid. So it's very similar to the third treatment. It's just that the mineral oil is applied without the phosphorus acid. And the idea is to see if maybe we can reduce our phosphorus acid inputs. The fifth treatment is a half a pound of iron sulfate heptahydrate product applied in combination with phosphorus acid every 2 weeks. And then the next treatment is a full pound of iron sulfate in combination with phosphorus acid every 2 weeks. And then we get into our controls. We have sulfur applied at 1/4 pound of sulfur per 1,000 square feet every 2 weeks. And then phosphorus acid applied every 2 weeks. And then a fungicide control, which is a rotation of products that are available on the market and are designed to follow a true IPM program, trying to avoid resistance, but it's a calendar spray, so we apply a fungicide every 4 weeks. And then we have a non-treated control. And I've highlighted the non-treated control treatment here in this big red box. So you can see just how much disease we get at the peak of disease every year. So in 2019, we had 40% disease on average in our not-treated control. In February 2020, we had 73%, and then this year we had 54% Microdokium patch on average on the not-treated controls. The treatments that have shown to be been very efficacious throughout the 3 years have been the mineral oil that's applied when the turfgrass is actively growing in combination with phosphorus acid, and then when the coldest part of the winter to apply only sulfur and phosphorus acid. And then the next treatment is the mineral oil and phosphorus acid rotated with sulfur and phosphorus acid. And then the fungicide control has always done extremely well, basically suppressing disease to a level that would be considered very acceptable for a golf course superintendent. And so those three products are, they provide comparable disease, and they've been doing a very good job at suppressing Microdokium patch. When superintendents ask me if they, which program they should go for if they're going to try something new, I always tell them to go with the mineral oil and phosphorus acid rotated with sulfur and phosphorus acid. It just tends to do a slightly better job at suppressing disease. And because the golf course putting greens are so dear, we try not to get any disease at all. And that treatment there has shown the best luck of having the least amount of disease throughout the season. If not, fungicides have also been quite efficacious. And so again, there's a kind of a highlight of what you would see. And in that photo there on the top right, you can see the blackening in the turf. And that's why those iron sulfate treatments, I just don't think are ever going to be acceptable for a golf course putting green. They just darken the green too much. And those treatments are applied every 2 weeks, and the turf grass really does just get blackened, and it just really thins out the turf. So another thing to consider with these long-term treatments is that we start to get anthracnose in the summertime on some of these applications. And so I've highlighted here with a red arrow the 4 treatments that have the highest amount of anthracnose. And so those are in the group with the most anthracnose disease, this is the amount of anthracnose we would see on one of those plots. I've highlighted here in a red square. And one thing that we notice with these treatments is they all receive fairly high rate of sulfur per 1,000 square feet per year, at least 2 pounds. And Brian McDonald and Tom Cook in the past have done a lot of research with sulfur, and they actually have recommended that we don't apply more than 1.5 pounds of sulfur for 1,000 square feet per year due to the increased risk of anthracnose. Now, if you don't have a choice of applying fungicides in your area, and you do need to use some of these perhaps techniques, one technique could be to use one fungicide that's available to try to remove one of these sulfur applications, or else just be ready to follow the best management practices for annual bluegrass management in the summer that Rutgers has put out for anthracnose. Now, they have a lot of great information about managing annual bluegrass to avoid anthracnose, or at least a high level of anthracnose in the summertime. So I'd recommend you to look into that if you are required to go with this treatment. Another thing that we've noticed here at Oregon State University is there's some yellowing in the turf when we apply high amounts of sulfur, as you can see in this square that's been outlined. One benefit of applying these products in the same location for 3 years now is that we can start to observe changes in the soil properties. And so one soil property that we're interested in is the pH. And just for clarity, we actually take the soil samples in the top 3 inches, and I remove the top inch, and I actually set those aside, and because it has the mat layer and some thatch. And we're going to actually break those up with liquid nitrogen, and then kind of run those through the soil analysis to see what the pH would be in that top inch. And so the results that you're looking at are from 1 inch to 3 inch depth. And so far we haven't seen any differences in pH on those treatments, which is kind of surprising because we're applying so much sulfur, and iron sulfate as well has been known to lower pH. Another thing that we're able to look at is basically the influence of phosphorus acid on the soil nutrition levels of phosphorus. Now, I did not misspeak. Phosphorus acid is OUS. That's the basically the active ingredient in the phosphites. And so what happens is that phosphorus will actually oxidize and become phosphorus, which is the element that is available to the plant that is commonly applied as phosphate. But phosphorus acid or phosphites are not actually available to the plant for plant nutrition. But what we are able to observe when we take the soil samples in the same location every May, so from the same plot, we're able to quantify if the elemental phosphorus levels are increasing. And indeed, we find that when we apply phosphites very frequently, so here I've outlined in red all of the applications that are applied every 2 weeks of phosphorus acid, we see that many of those have actually increased the amount of phosphorus available to the plant the following year. So that does indicate that the phosphites are becoming available as potentially phosphate, but in any case, it's recognized as a soil test as available phosphorus to the plant the following year. Another thing that we're able to look at over time in this 3-year study is the putting green quality. And so some superintendents are interested in perhaps long-term impacts on infiltration. And so far we've been using double ring infiltration, and we haven't found any differences in infiltration, even though we take these data after multiple months of applications right before the aerification that occurs at the end of May. So when we take the infiltration data right after all those treatments, we still find no differences. And we take them again in the summer and then again in the fall. In addition, we've looked at green speeds, and we haven't found any differences at all in green speeds in the summer or in the fall as well. And so, our main takeaways are really that there's a lot of applications that are able to suppress microdocium patch, although anthracnose really is a problem, and so we do encourage you to follow those Rutgers best management practices for annual bluegrass management in the summertime. And if you have any questions, I do hope that you're able to attend the question and answer forum that's going to occur at the field day the following week. And if you have any pressing questions, you're certainly welcome to send me an email at clint.maddox@oregonstate.edu or go to our website, beaverturf.com. And the turf team is quite active on Twitter as well at OSU Beaver Turf. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions either by email or at our question and answer session.